You mentioned earlier that you had problems with quantum mechanics that we might get into, and I mean, I was going to ask whether your strongly anti-deterministic views or your views on generativity rule out or dispose you toward preferring specific theories, like you might want to rule out Bohmian mechanics for being deterministic, or it might dispose you toward a spontaneous collapse theory. But maybe I should ask if the better question is whether your views suggest that there's something wrong with quantum theories as they're currently formulated in general, that's something that's problematic.
Hmm. Yes.
Now we'll let the
The
qualified
last
physicist go first.
Yeah, no, I'm not that qualified. I think one of the thing, like, so I don't really consider that there is a quantum theory. I think there's a bunch of interpretations, because I mean, obviously there's a lot of mathematical structures, but there's not like a scientific consensus about what the ontology of quantum mechanics is telling us about reality. And so I think when people say quantum theory, I'm very confused what they mean because of these very different interpretations of the same physical phenomena. But if I just look at the physical phenomena, like the measurements people have done in the lab, and why it suggests something like quantum physics is necessary, is it does just seem to describe a universe that's not deterministic. And Lee and I have talked about this a lot. Like when you look at the history of physics and the tools they had available at the time for developing quantum mechanics, they were very much in like sort of the Newtonian mindset that the universe has an initial condition and there's fixed laws of motion. And if you try to impose it on quantum phenomena, you end up with these like patchwork theories that don't really work, which we call interpretations of quantum theory. And so I think there's a problem where the lineage of physics wasn't ready for observing these kind of regulars of nature. And Lee and I are both very interested in the work that Jacob is doing in quantum foundations with these kind of indivisible stochastic processes. And I think this is a really nice approach to quantum mechanics because it's basically suggesting that something is missing about causation in time in an explanation of quantum mechanics, which is something that Lee and I had for a long time been thinking is true. And so Lee already made this comment kind of on the side, and I'll let him talk about it a little bit more. But the sort of underlying impression we have is causation is a real thing in our universe, and causes get selected into existence. Like this is the whole mechanism of assembly theory. And I think what's missing from quantum mechanics is the same thing that we're talking about in assembly theory is missing from descriptions of living systems and physics generally, is that we don't have a way to describe a universe that is self-constructing and doesn't have an external description and is causally deep. And it's really the causal depth that is leading to these weird phenomena in quantum mechanics, and selection along causal depth, eventually, from molecules all the way up to us is what leads to living structures. So there's this
So,
really interesting set of ideas emerging that are really exciting, I think, in that space. Go ahead, Lee.
so I think we can be very precise about it, and like so, I don't want to misspeak Jacob's work, and I don't want to, but I think he's onto something extremely interesting. And I think what was really interesting is that he was led there by some kind of interesting mathematical interpretation, which led me to see a causation in quantum mechanics. And this was so interesting. But he's already published some of this. He's talked about some of this. But let's just go back a step where Sara made a very nice statement I'm going to reproduce right now, is causation is selected into existence. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to describe in concrete terms what causation is, because a lot of people say, what do you mean by causation? And I mean this is a physical thing in the universe, not an inferred causation, not, Alice and Bob, there was a window and Alice threw the stone at the window, but Bob caught it and then smashed it with a hammer. And what caused the window to all this kind of counterfactual causation? I'm going to talk about the following. And so all I require us is to join me in my universe, in my ontology, and say that the only thing that there is in my universe is basically basic particles or building blocks. Let's just say Lego or Legos, as it seems like Americans say. I would say Lego is plural. But anyway, Lego. We're in the universe of Lego. And there basically is the only thing that the answer to life or the answer to the universe, why are we here? Douglas Adams, 42, is persistence beyond the existence time. What am I saying? Well, let's just say my Legos, they can collide randomly in the environment and they can create objects. Because there's all this energy, they then get broken apart again. So Legos come in, Legos go back. You all got Lego bricks. They keep going. Legos, Legos, Legos. So you've got this maelstrom, let's call it random or undetermined. I think random is fine for the moment because there's only so many things you can question on one day, and then suddenly you just have no platform. Random Legos are colliding because there's some energy. Occasionally a Lego object gets made, and that has a half-life before other collisions take it out of existence, right? So I think everyone's there so far. So although there's collisions which cause, billiard boards sticking together, there's causes, they're random. So you get an object created as a random object, it gets broken as soon as it gets made. Now, when an object forms that is able to intervene on its own process to keep itself maintaining, so basically, let's say a Lego block forms that happens to be a template for another one and commandeers some mass and make like a U shape, makes another U shape like this, and they're like stable. And suddenly all the Legos turn into U's because they're connected. Suddenly you can see this by the persistence time of the U goes beyond its half-life. It exists a bit longer. It exists longer than its natural decay time. That's how selection through persistence in time drags causation into being. So this is super deep and interesting and very concrete. Well, very concrete, it's like obvious in Lego universe. So suddenly then you have causal kind of random causes, then an emergence of a thing that can persist in time by some self-templating. We could call it autocatalysis or some other thing. And that causal train gets trapped. And then suddenly it's existing beyond its decay time. That selection. Then what can happen is that object can then interact with other objects to make more complicated networks. And those networks have the causal chain memorized, if you like. And that is then the emergence of a memory or contingency. So you have these three things: causation, selection, and contingency. And that is how stuff makes its way to life in a universe where there is no determinism, and causation has to be made by future events, if you like, coming out. And I really like the phrase you made there, Sarah. We should use it, that causation is selected into existence. That is exactly the right phrase. So that's kind of my view of the mechanism that people have been demanding. Say, what is the mechanism of, assembly theory, and what do you mean by causation, and what do you mean by contingency? And it kind of naturally follows because these complex objects do form in high copy numbers. So I don't know if that makes sense, Robinson.
It does. And you recently read, I think we were emailing about it, and you recently read Darwin's Dangerous Idea, right? By Dennett?
Yeah.
I see this as very connected. I mean, causation, selection, contingency.
Yeah. And then I think, what was the other one? That there was a whole
Freedom Evolves.
Freedom Evolves. And it was like Freedom Evolves, because I can see that assembly theory leads us to causation in the universe, one-span causation, which then gives us pre-biological evolution. And then how, as you then start to make objects that get to this thing called intelligence, then intelligence is this thing, selection, intelligence and consciousness and abstraction is all the same process, which is why I find the whole AGI, SGI, blah, 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 kind of hilarious, because it's like there is this very big, deep principle that's coming into existence. But I want to capture that because all assembly theory is trying to do at the base is say, what process underlies the formation of complex objects before a viable ribosome? And so the problem that Sarah and I were posing when we were writing this up is to say, well, look, clearly selection had to exist before biology. But what happened when we published this paper that was controversial is that we basically recaptured the word selection away from evolutionary biology. Said, no, selection is a word that exists before biology. Natural selection, okay, evolutionary biology, you can own that, is great. We love it. We know what you mean. But as a scientist, if I'm making terms up that people don't understand, it's harder for me to communicate. selection is a good word. I don't need to be afraid of using it and scared. But we were, computer scientists didn't like it. Biologists didn't like it. Chemists didn't understand it. Physicists think we don't need it. And the creationists said it wasn't creationist enough. So we had 5 disciplines and 1 theism kind of arguing about this thing all simultaneously, which I found was quite fun. But I think this mechanism, selection gives causation, which then gives contingency, that then ultimately leads to evolution, is what we're really interested in measuring. The fact we can measure it now and quantify aliveness of a causal chain and depth of time and object means I think we're onto something relatively interesting, because we can make new conjectures about how sand can turn into cells and hopefully study it in the laboratory and come up with a crazy experiment that is unprecedented from current, not allowed by the laws of physics without this new foundation. I'm trying to be precise. I don't know if I'm being precise. I'm really trying hard to be precise. Yeah.
Abstract things are hard to be precise about. It's good. You don't need to be too precise if it's an abstraction. You just have to get the abstraction in someone else's head.